When you want to be the best, you can't settle for the rest. For anything on iRacing, there's just one name you need, Maconi.
With the launch of Maconi Entertainment and Maconi Competizone alongside Maconi Setup Shop, we now provide the best of the best in setups, paint schemes, coaching, broadcasting, and event organization.
With cars across all 4 license classes, we have what you need to hit the track with confidence. Grab a subscription and save money while going fast at MaconiSetupShop.com/subscriptions.
And remember, at Maconi Setup Shop, there are setups, but your victories.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head to head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Well, hello and good evening, everybody, and welcome back to Fast Fridays presented by Maconi Setup Shop. As per usual in this series, we've got a brand new format for all of you. We have the Next Gen Cup Cars at Atlanta tonight, a race set to serve as a qualifier for the upcoming monthly money race. For those of you who have never joined us before here on Fast Fridays is a weekly series by Maconi Setup Shop featuring an ever-changing car and track combination every single week. With a revamped format we are seeing now, the drivers enter this race and the last race and the one coming up in 1 week's time to qualify for this upcoming Monday money race. My name is Ron Mullins. Joining me in the commentary booth is William White, with Christian Hill working the controls as our producer for tonight's broadcast. And we're coming in just under the wire, William. So can you briefly run through the starting grid before we're about to grab the green in just a couple of moments' time?
Yeah, on the starting grid, we've got Jared Davis and Hewlin Kauser first and second to Fast Fridays regulars. Brian Shabelski, Gabriel Gatti, row number 2. William Corrin the second rounds out our top 5. Michael Dow, Aston Pritchard in 6th and 7th. Billy Rickett, Chris Winiger and Martin Tolmick round out the top 10. Greg Stone, Jeffrey Eddy make up row 6. Jack A. Clemens, Brendan Argenio and Ethan Newey in the top 15 there. Tyler Autery, Tim Obert, Dylan Martin, Jerry Jackson and Dave Horton round out your top 20. Anthony Ficola, Jonathan Piquet, Gavin McCall, TJ Hanley, Joshua Coolbrith, Tyler Reef, Aaron Shiflett, Michael Rudy, Terry Henry, Chris Titus round out the 30 that made times, with Jeffrey Maconi 31st, having not set a lap time.
And you can see the rest of the starting grid. William, God bless you for being able to get through all of that before this green flag that we're about to grab in just a couple of moments' time. That pace car has made the hard left turn to come down pit lane. The field is now in the hands of our front row sitter as they enter the start zone. The green flag is out and the drivers are on their way. And you can see the field already starting to shuffle out a little bit. Some drivers spreading out a teeny tiny bit as they careen their way now into 1 and 2 the first time, of course, here with a reworked Atlanta Motor Speedway or Atlanta Super Speedway, depending on whatever you want to call it. A completely different style of racing than was here back in 2021. Of course, 2022 being the last major change. We got 60 lap race in front of you here this evening on Maconi Entertainment, and you can see some side-by-side action already with Davis holding on to the lead.
Yeah, it's a super speedway, isn't it? Only 60 laps though, so I reckon we're going to see a good bit of chaos here, like we did a couple weeks ago at Daytona in the Xfinity Series cars. That was a money race won by 2019 eNASCAR champion Zach Novak on that particular occasion. Looking a bit more spread out though, I will say, than compared to your average super speedway race, whether that's due to any weather conditions or whatever. It definitely looks a bit more spread out than usual, but everyone looking to acclimate well at this time. Jared Davis still holding the lead quite tidily at the minute.
Now, a lot of these drivers starting to feel a little bit out of their comfort zones as the first yellow of the race has come out with a big incident heading through the tri-oval. Yellow coming out just at the end of lap 2. Of course, we've got full course yellows in this race. We're about to live through one right now, William. We've also got 3 green-white checkered attempts that may play a role in this race later on. So first yellow of the race coming out very early doors, only 3 laps into the 60-lap affair here from today's Fast Friday event at Atlanta Motor Speedway. And hopefully you can find a replay to see exactly what went wrong and created that major stack up to bring out the first yellow in this race, bringing a little bit of calm, cool, and collectiveness to us after a very troubled up start with us coming in right under the wire as they were starting that pace lap. This is going to be a pretty fun night of racing action. It's already been action-packed thus far, and we've already had an incident come at a lot of the field shuffling now under yellow, clicking on to lap 4 now, and hopefully you can find that replay to see exactly what went wrong in the not-too-distant future. Had some slight little technical issues to try and get resolved, so we'll hopefully get those squared away and get that replay loaded up in just a couple of moments' time at a race, William, where we're expecting a little bit of drama. Of course, this track, it races like a super speedway, but it's about a mile shorter than most other super speedways, and it has been a little while since this Fast Friday series has run a super speedway style race. Really, the last one was all the way back on August the 9th with the Xfinity cars running at Daytona International Speedway. So it's been quite a long time since these drivers have run a race of this nature. And of course, these NASCAR next-gen cars are pretty much entirely different, a whole different kettle of fish than the Xfinity Series cars. So just a completely different challenge, but hey, it's a Fast Friday series, so the drivers always have to expect a curveball being thrown their way.
Yeah, well, that's the beauty of the series, isn't it? You've got a different car and track combo each and every week, and as you mentioned, the super speedway races, they're few and far between on Fast Fridays. In fact, very rarely as you see the incident at the end of lap 2 there, brought out the yellow. It's number 20, almost upside down there. That's Jack Clemens in the Christopher Bell scheme. What we've seen, that's a big one. What we see is we've rarely seen 2 super speedway races in 3 weeks. That's not a kind of compactness that we've seen before with these super speedways. That might be catching some drivers out. They're not expecting that many. These cars, as you mentioned as well, very different from Xfinity Series cars, Truck Series as well. The next gen's very different, even back to the Gen 6. So yeah, definitely challenging conditions, and I think we're seeing that come into play into lap 2 with a big, big accident. These guys, though, do have one fast repair, so even though that'll definitely damage their hopes of getting up towards the front, it doesn't take them out of the race completely. There's running on ball here with Greg Stone, I believe this is, that got hooked. Yeah, heavy damage, but he can get it fixed.
And that was a huge impact. We nearly had a driver end up into the catch fence, possibly on their lid. Well, we still have a long way left to go in this race, so I wouldn't entirely rule out us seeing a complete flip. After all, we have seen stranger things, my mind harkening back to this past weekend and this past Monday with the NASCAR Cup Series and Xfinity Series running at Michigan, where Corey LaJoie ended up on his lid on a Monday. And we also had, I believe it was Ryan Sieg flip that Sunday for the Xfinity Series race. But this yellow has been pretty brief. The field is already stacked up and ready to go. Heading into turn number 3, and you can see the race analysis. Race length 60 laps, pit road speed 45, got that one fast repair, 3 green-white checkers, and a fixed setup as well. And speaking of pit road, we won't have to see it for a decent amount of time in this race. But we don't have it how we have it in real life. Usually in real life, the drivers would enter pit lane off into turn number 3. We don't have that here with this version of Atlanta. In iRacing, they'll be entering pit lane as they usually would for an intermediate track. That's going to be a huge curveball thrown these drivers' ways in the not-too-distant future. And speaking of, we're going to get that green flag out back again. 5 laps on the board, coming to 6 now, and with a very disorganized restart, some drivers may be seeing some penalties here in the not-too-distant future. That was all kinds of screwed up as they were going back to grab the green, but as the drivers fan out 2 and 3 wide, heading through turns number 1 and 2 right now. You can see the 22 threading the middle on that inside line, middle line, I should say, heading through turns number 1 and 2. These drivers may be heaving the warning that they just saw themselves at that lap 3 incident, and maybe starting to take it a little bit careful on this restart.
Yeah, again, another very disorganized restart, as was the race start itself. You're seeing the number 13 here. That is Tyler Reef going around the outside of Hewlin Calzone again. A quick yellow further back in the pecking order, lap 7 of 60. We're barely a tenth of the way and already under our second yellow flag. That is the number 39 of Jacob Wallace, who's ran into some trouble going into turn 1. The 85 is well involved. See if we can catch a replay of that and see exactly what happened. But some yellows in very quick succession, Ron.
Very, very quick succession. 2 yellow flags, and we haven't even reached the end of lap 7. So these drivers may be feeling a little bit hot under their collars. Of course, the top 20 in points in these 3 qualifying races will make their way into this upcoming monthly money race on September the 6th. We're taking a look at the replay of the drama that happened. It was an incident a little bit farther up the road, which caused a stack up in a completely different incident as well that we are following as they went down the tri-oval, so to speak. Would it be called a tri-oval here at Atlanta? I'm not too sure about the nomenclature surrounding it, but a big incident. You can see the 40 was all kinds of sideways and got clobbered by multiple cars heading into turn number 1. That was a big hit, multiple impacts for that 40 car. That car is all but destroyed. Multiple cars involved in that incident. I believe were involved in the incidents earlier. We're going to take a look at another angle. That's a huge hit. The 28 was doing a wheelie after that contact with the 40.
Yeah, Marco Ruda. I don't know if there's anything before we cut that replay that's caused that, but it looks like as we've cut in, Marco Ruda's just lost it all by himself. The 28, as you mentioned, big impact. We see Brian Shabelski trying to get it wired off there in the 85. You see him just come across your screen. Massive impact there. I think he's got the 19, I believe that is, of Don MacArthur, I want to say, taking with him. It might be, or someone else. Shoving, essentially, Brian Shabelski into that incident as Shabelski tried to avoid it, but definitely an unfortunate incident. It's just looking, yeah, there is that seam, isn't there, in the quad oval. It gets to the ground a little bit unsettled, and I think that the number 40 car just didn't really like that. It's the 07, I beg your pardon there, that goes piling into that incident with Brian Shabelski. So yeah, another big impact. Darren Shiflett there, that was. Going into that, so it's another massive impact. And these guys are already using their fast repairs. We might see a race where this becomes a race of attrition and the field gets really thin towards the end.
Well, it's looking like it is going to be a race of attrition, not even a sixth of the way into this race, and we've already had 2 yellow flags and some drivers beginning to use their fast repairs. Looks like it's going to be a long night here for these drivers from the Fast Friday series running around this track, which is quite threatening and also somewhat new in the world of iRacing, it must be said. And all credit where credit's due to the people at iRacing. The people in charge of Atlanta Motor Speedway really used iRacing as a good platform to try and figure out what they could do when considering reconfiguring this racetrack when it was in desperate need of a repave at the end of the 2021 racing season, and they came up with the configuration that we have now. Both the lights out on that pace car. We're going to be getting the green flag out in just 1 lap's time. It's been a very it's been a hectic start, it must be said, William. 2 yellows so far, about, I would say, about 3.5 laps of green flag action. I think that these drivers are probably hoping and praying for this race to settle into some sort of groove after this.
Yeah, I would definitely say so as well. It's definitely looked more challenging than I think a typical super speedway would in terms of actually controlling the car. We've seen guys getting loose all by themselves and very disorderly restarts where no one's really able to bunch back up like you would typically see at a plate track. So definitely something, you know, under the floodlights. The track is quite a bit cold, 78 Fahrenheit on the asphalt here. We'll see if that's presenting any sorts of challenges to these drivers, not able to get them tyres up to perhaps those optimal operating temperatures. But we'll see on this restart, it's Jared Davis, Gabriel Gatti, 2 very quick drivers that we see a lot pretty much every single week in Fast Fridays, whether they can lead the charge and get this race a bit more orderly, start to tick off some green flag laps, because that's what we're here to see. We're not about iPacing, we're about iRacing. We're about to go green again. We're heading to the restart zone now.
I think these drivers are definitely hoping for this race to settle into some sort of groove. They're more happy going side by side at about 180 miles an hour than they are going side by side at about 45, and they're hoping to change that on this restart. The field going through that restart zone, the green flag is back and the drivers are back on their way, heading into turns number 1 and 2 in just a couple of moments time. It's still Davis leading it, Gaddy in P2, and Karen in 3rd, but some drivers going side by side up and down the field. You can see the number 91 car of of Coaster getting hung out to dry on that outside line. He's going to drop down possibly to P6, maybe even a few more spots as he files back into that inside line. But a lot of drivers going side by side up and down this field. Some drivers already one lap down. We'll touch on that in the not too distant future, but you can see some side by side action here. We were riding on board with the 91 car of Huling Kauser going side by side with a 13 of Reef heading through the quad oval. You can see a car exiting pit lane right down there on the bottom of the racetrack, but Davis and Gaddy, they're close, and you got some side by side action here with Karen in that number 81 car and Jackson in the 37. They're going to be side by side trying to battle for that P3 spot. It is some close stuff heading through turns number 3 and 4 right now, and look at the run from the 91. He is going to be on that inside line, hanging the 81 driver out to dry, heading through the quad oval now to begin lap lucky number 13 of 60 in this race. The field is more resembling a pack of hornets, as you can see the 81 nearly dipping down as the yellow has come out yet again.
Yeah, another yellow further back in the running as we saw guys start to get a bit more packed together. I think the 40 of Michael Ruders, the 96 as well, has been involved in this. That's David Wellborn Jr., I believe. So definitely less than ideal start for most of these drivers, as 3 cautions and 12-13 laps. Really, really not good. These guys need to start ticking off some green flag laps. They won't get used to the conditions if they're constantly running under yellows. They need to ease into it a bit more, I think. We're going to see a replay shortly of just exactly what happened.
Oh, and you can see the replay in question. I think this was some bad bump drafting heading through the quad oval. 3 wide action gone horribly wrong, and that was a huge impact for a lot of the drivers involved. William, I feel like if we had a nickel for every single bad impact we've had so far in this race, I feel like we'd be able to repair some of these race cars with the money we made from that.
Yeah, definitely. It's going to give everyone in Georgia a headache with the amount of bad impacts we're seeing into that outside one on the front straight. We're seeing these guys not quite able to get to the bumpers, because when they do, obviously we know these next gens can push hard, but you see, just gets off centre there. Does the bumping car there, gets right into the 96. Brendan Argenio, that is in the 31, nowhere to go, and that is a couple heavy impacts there. The 96. See, already almost another flip there. The 46 just skates by the 53. That's Chris Winnigan, not so lucky. And that is another massive, massive accident to set off yet another yellow flag.
I think going back to the phrase that I said as we were taking a look at that replay, if we had a nickel for the amount of bad impacts we've had so far in this race, we'd probably be able to repair some of these cars with the money we made from that very strange bet. But as you can see, the lights are back out on the pace car. We're about to get this race back underway in just a few moments time. I think before we go back to green, we should probably talk about some of the sponsors for tonight's broadcast. One of them, of course, being Maconi Setup Shop. Tonight's broadcast on Maconi Entertainment would not be possible without Maconi Setup Shop. Maconi is a one-stop shop for iRacers, a place to find setups, paint schemes, driver coaching, and event promotion as well, with subscriptions starting as low as just $8 a month. Go to www.Maconi Setup Shop to find out for yourself why Maconi Setup Shop is loved by so many. And while you're at that search bar, go to www.MaconiSetupShop/Fast Fridays to sign up for this series. Maconi Setup Shop is the official setup shop of eNASCAR, and as we get that sponsorship shout out of the way, we're about to get the green flag out in just a couple of moments time. 15 laps on the board, not a whole lot of them completed under green flag running, but as this field goes through the restart zone, the green flag is going to be back out and the drivers will be back on their way into turn number 1 and 2. I think these drivers are getting sick of the green yellow cycle, so they're hoping for some sort of change. The drivers up towards the front, they've been racing hard, they've been racing aggressive, but they have been racing clean. It's the drivers a little bit farther in the back that they're probably starting to worry about. But as Davis leads, it looks like Jackson is trying to get a move done here. They're going to be 3 wide. Well, you can see Gaddy running all the way on the apron, heading through into turn number 3. And it's a huge crash. Right as I was saying, the drivers at the north end of the field were running clean. The big one happens here, heading through 3 and 4. And it all started with an aggressive move heading into 3 and 4. These drivers are seeing their opportunity to participate in the next monthly money raise come out of their grasp. They tried to go for an aggressive move, and sadly it just ended in absolute disaster for drivers up and down the field.
Yeah, that's ended in tears there, and it's a move for the lead that sparked that, and that has just involved absolutely everybody behind them. Everyone trying to get on the anchors, get that thing slowed down, but it's just so difficult to get on the brakes and not lock it up, which is why you see drivers sometimes go flying into these wrecks, even when they've got their left foot through the floor. We're going to see here it starts with Jerry Jackson going below the red line. That's a big no-no in real-life stock car racing, and he comes flying back up. Netcode's Gabriel Gatti, yes, but that was definitely not a wise move there from the 37. Jared Davis just squeaks by us. That's the 13. Hewlin-Cowser not so lucky. And at this point, it is, you just have to pray at this point. The 48, the 03 of Jeff Maconi, the 48 almost upside down, the 27, the 20, everyone in it. And that was sparked by, you'd have to say, a bit of a silly move by the 37.
Yeah, that was a kamikaze dive off into 3 and 4. As you pointed out, William, that was a big no-no in real life. He would have gotten hit with a major penalty if he tried to go for that move. But here in the sim, it is somewhat permissible, but that sort of move creating a big accident is pretty inexcusable as well. And another big impact, we've had cars get so close to flipping over. We're going to be riding on board with a 48. Okay, that had to have been a 45-degree angle, and you could see the rear end of the car probably up about 6 to 7 feet up in the air with another collision into the outside wall. These drivers are going for a wild ride up and down the field, and you can see the boss man Maconi getting a piece of that action as well. Lots of drivers involved in incidents early on, and you can see that 48 car still running around the racetrack with the damage. Jonathan Packett right now maybe already exhausted a fast repair earlier on in this race, so he is going to have to try and deal with some damage and on that 48 car, which is a very striking livery with, I believe, the same number. Actually, no, I'm using my European mind. A very striking paint scheme on the number 48 car. And speaking of paint schemes, we should probably talk about another good sponsor that we have here for the Fast Friday series, who's been very generous for us thus far, that being DL Designs. Want your car to look amazing on track? DL Designs is your place to go. Top-tier paint schemes for everything, from Cup, Xfinity, trucks, ARCA, dirt and asphalt, late model sprint cars, street stocks, and many, many more. You get spec maps, custom numbers, and the best design you can imagine, all for just $20. Some of the cheapest in the game for some of the best quality you can get as well. DL Designs on Twitter/X to try and get a beautiful looking paint scheme to drive your way into victory lane looking the best you can. We'd like to thank DL Designs for being one of the sponsors here of the Fast Friday series on Maconi Entertainment tonight, and it has been entertaining thus far for us in the commentary booth, at least. I'm sure the iRacing mechanics will be having to drink Red Bull after Red Bull after Red Bull to try and fix all the damage that has been afflicted on some of these race cars thus far in this race. William, we're not even a third of the way in, and we're at yellow number 4? I've already lost count. Are we on yellow number 4 or is it 5?
I believe we're on yellow number 4, but I mean, these guys keep driving the way they are. Yellow number 5 will not be far away, so these guys definitely have to clean it up a little bit as we're coming to nearly a third of the way through the race. This will be the end of lap 19 when we go back green. That will definitely have thinned the herd somewhat and jumbled up the order. We'll see if Tyler Reef, new race leader, can get it going here, as he will now command the restart on this occasion, coming to lap 20. And again, looks like the leader having control of the restart gets a big benefit as he begins to pull away quite a bit. But of course, as is the way at super speedways, that leader, the bigger the gap they get, the bigger the run for the cars behind them.
Oh, and you could see the field heading their way right now through 1 and 2. The field actually spreading out a teeny tiny bit, it must be said, with the front 5 cars starting to break away from Pritchard right there in P6. Or as I say that, they close up a whole lot heading through 3 and 4. Some side-by-side action for the lead. Reef and Karen going side-by-side, battling for the lead. The 13 and the 81 side-by-side, with Davis in the 4 car looking to pick up the pieces if these drivers come to blows. But as this field continues to run side by side all around this racetrack, racetrack. Jackson nearly goes onto the apron. He will
doing it
go onto the
again.
apron, trying to go for a deja vu maneuver. Is it going to work out for him this time? Running still on that white and red line on that end of the apron and end of the racing surface to try and make it 3 wide, heading through 3 and 4. It's going to stick this time and not end in a horrible collision like it did last time. Jackson feeling really, really racy going for a move like that. I have a feeling, though, if he goes for it any more between now and the checkered flag, someone is going to slam that door shut on him and teach him that he shouldn't run below the yellow line here in these plate races. Jackson definitely playing with fire in third.
Yeah, if I was one of these drivers, especially someone like Jared Davis, who's really been punished for that, for something that is doing at all down to 6th place, I would not be happy with Jerry Jackson, not one bit. But first, Jerry Jackson doesn't get, he's up to 3rd, looking at William Corr in the 2nd, looking at Tyler Reef. Those are the 2 drivers in front of him. We'll see at turn 2 this time whether he can get the run on the 81 to potentially try it again, but definitely ill-advised, as you say, Ron, absolutely playing with fire. But we'll see as they're 3 wide behind them, everyone getting a little bit disorganised. You see 1, 2, 3, 4, everyone's starting to break into little packs now. This could open the door for some more green flag running. We'll have to wait and see, nearing the halfway point now. Oh! Just as I say that, I think that's Jerry Jackson that just got dumped. Still green.
Yeah, Jackson running through the grass. That was a big slide for him, and it's going to bring the yellow out. You can see the 81 car getting a piece of that. That's William Carr in the 2nd, and there's Jerry Jackson in that 37. Considering how aggressive he was driving, it was a matter of when, not if, that he would have gotten turned, and it looks like that just happened coming out of turn number 4 to begin. Well, actually end lap 23, soon to begin lap 24, but the yellow is back out in this race. It has been jumbled up thus far, and it will be continue to be jumbled up. This is going to be a doozy for a lot of these drivers. Another yellow in this race, and that's what did it. It was actually the 81 and the 37 getting a piece of that, and the 37 with some rally action heading through the grass at the quad oval here at Atlanta, taking some nice evasive maneuvers, it must be said, to lock the brakes and cut it back to that apron. Otherwise, he probably would have been T-boned with a car coming up to him at about 180 miles an hour, and that would have been a sickening collision, one of many we've had so far in this race. But the Chevrolet's tangling coming off of turn number 4. What do you make of that, William?
Just the way I see it, they're in line coming through 3 and 4, and then it looks like as Jerry Jackson gets some major air there, jeez, it looks like the 37 just ran William over just for no real good reason. I don't know if he tried to bump and run him. Either way, it's gone very, very wrong for both parties. And Jerry Jackson now finds himself way down the order with probably a good few drivers not happy with him one bit. Well,
some drivers
81 got loose, I think.
Yeah, I would say probably a bit of a 50-50 incident, you could say. Can't really assign blame on one driver. I think it was just 2 drivers fighting for the same piece of real estate, and we're going to see that onboard shot of the 37 getting a major amount of airtime with a wild ride heading through that quad oval section. He just hits the grass there and hit that I guess it would be the turn number 3 and 4 for the Legends Oval here at Atlanta Motor Speedway, and just started soaring up into the air, getting flashbacks in my mind to Josh Berry hitting the grass back in 2021 and going for a wild ride with the front splitter pretty much being reduced into carbon fiber and sheet metal spaghetti after that. So thankfully, these drivers not having to deal with the grass digging into their splitters. However, still a wild ride for Jerry Jackson. He is on the back foot massively after that. I mean, he was in the Hornet's Nest at the north end of the field, but he's in even more of a Hornet's Nest right now. And it's been an interesting change, it must be said, William, as they approach the halfway mark in this race. The first few incidents mainly caused by incidents in the mid-pack, a little bit farther towards the back as well. These past few have been incidents at the north end, at the very front of the field. Something changing here. What it is ain't exactly clear, but clearly the drivers at the front feeling even more racy than they were at the very start.
Yeah, that's the thing. The more yellows we have, and, especially when they keep piling on like this, we're nearing halfway. I don't think we've had more than 6 actual green flag laps. So these drivers have no time. When they see incidents keep happening towards the back and the yellows keep coming out, they think, right, I've got limited time to make my move towards the front, so I'm just going to do it now. And they take that risk and it goes wrong, and then you start having incidents up the front of the field, and it just compounds the problem. And you keep having these yellows, and of course they keep having yellows, they keep getting more racy. They've only got 30 laps to go roughly when they get back to the green flag. That's not a lot of time at Atlanta when a lap goes by 32 seconds. So the more yellows we have, it's going to compound the problem. So if they want less yellows, they're going to actually have to get less racy. They want a chance to win, they're going to have to back it off for a few laps.
Yeah, I think these drivers at this point in time really just need to take it easy, settle this race into some sort of groove. It's a very good point that we brought up earlier, those 3 green-white checkers, and considering how aggressive these drivers have been thus far in this race, I have a very strong feeling that we will be using them. We are expecting this race to be a quick one, considering it's 60 laps at a super speedway where the field was pretty much flat out for the entirety of the 1.5 mile lap around Atlanta Motor Speedway, but we haven't even hit the halfway mark, and we started this broadcast about a half an hour ago. It has been quite jumbled up, and looking up and down the field, there's some cars with damage. Been serving their fast repairs earlier. They don't have them at their disposal anymore, and they will really be struggling between now and the checkered flag. But the green flag is that the field gonna be back on their way into turn number 1 and 2 in just a couple of moments time. Some bump drafting already with the 4 trying to give the boot scoon boogie, heading down that quad oval into turn number 1 and 2 right now. The field packed up 2 and 2. They have been packed up 2 and 2 pretty much from lights to flag thus far. Even during those yellows, they've been side by side. I think the main reason why that's the case is because they've spent so much time under yellow that they're getting used to just running side by side around the entirety of this Atlanta Motor Speedway race course. But some drivers bumping like high hell, heading through turns number 3 and 4. They're feeling really, really racy. Obviously not yielding the advice that we gave them, William, to take it a little bit easy, as they're nearly 3 wide heading through the quad oval a few moments ago.
Definitely looks a lot more tight, a lot more racy, but at least looks orderly. 2 by 2 by 2 by 2, a good dozen rows back, but no one's really pulling the big below the line moves. The outside line absolutely moving down the straight there, as they've got 3 cars clear. Reef, Davis and Gatti now find themselves clear at the front of the field. Joshua Fireball Coolbreath there with the coolest middle name ever finds himself in P4, also clear of Pritchard and Bednar's, scrapping for position behind them. But now here comes Gatti to the inside of Davis. So even still, where usually we see on these super speedway races everyone commits to the line for a good few laps, in this we're seeing a bit more spread out action, everyone finding a gap as soon as they can take it.
Yeah, they're not letting any opportunities split. No quarters being left out on the racetrack, and no quarters really expected from their competitors, and that isn't something you never want to see in a pack race here at Atlanta Super Speedway. Some blinking going on. I'm not sure exactly who that is. They blinked entirely out of existence now, so maybe some alien activity going on at Atlanta Motor Speedway as a 16 nearly body slammed the 20 coming through turns number 2. That was a near disastrous moment in the midfield of this race. Actually, right towards the tail end of the top 5, mind you. This race is just an absolute hornet's nest with some drivers going side by side up and down the field. But the front 3 of Reef, Davis, and Gatti beginning to break away from Clements in 4th. Pritchard now in the 56 car occupying that final top 5 spot. And some nice shuffling heading into turns number 1 and 2. These drivers getting even more aggressive. This is one of the longest green flag runs we've had so far in this race. But I'm getting flashbacks of one of the yellows we had earlier as a 49 car went onto the apron. That was Brown. He's now starting to drop back a little bit. I think he had a spin heading through that back straightaway into 3 and 4. So a lot of drivers losing some time as a result of all of that. I just saw him go onto the apron very briefly. I think he understood it and understandably backed out of it, considering the disaster that led to earlier on with, I believe it was Jerry Jackson in the 37 that had that moment earlier on in this race. But as the drivers continue to go side by side up and down this field, this looks more like an Atlanta traffic jam than anything else, with some big bumping heading through 3 and 4.
And funnily enough, it's the 2 that came together last caution there. William Corrin the second, now giving the bump to Jerry Jackson, potentially giving him a taste of his own medicine. We'll see if any friction begins to appear between the 37 and the 81, but things look calm for the minute. But we're racing for the leader. That's Tyler Reef and Jared Davis upstairs there with Gabriel Gatti all on his lonesome, not with much help. Nearest being the 30 there of Dylan Martin, as this one spearing off to the inside wall there. That might bring out a yellow. We'll have to wait and see as they're continuing to wreck. Has another big impact as well for the 54. More drivers might get involved. Still green though. Now we're yellow.
Oh, that was multiple incidents going on, and oh my God,
word.
someone just got creamed coming off of turn number 4. That was another vicious impact. That was a 73 car that I believe just got the jump scare to end all jump scares. That was about 5 incidents in the span of a couple of moments, and I gotta say, William, the driver who's just sparked some fury so far tonight, did it again. The 37 went onto the apron, made it 3 wide, and created another incident. You could see the field just scattering around, damaged cars all around the 1.5 miles here at Atlanta Motor Speedway. I think we have a whole lot of replays to take a look at. That's an incident heading through the quad oval. That's the 08, getting a bit of a bounce from 2 cars either side of him, sends him into that outside wall before turn number 1. That, I believe, was that before or after the yellow flag came out? I am not entirely sure. That was before the yellow flag came out. A driver got spun going down the back straightaway, and the 37 did it again, went 3 wide and used the apron heading into turn number 3 and just created a huge crash behind it. We're going to look at the 73. Oh my God, that was horrible.
With the ARCA brakes off the century from Brendan Argenio, that's went flying into the back there of the 73 of Dave Horton. But yeah, the 37, Jerry Jackson, he just can't be doing that. There is a line there for a reason. You cannot go below it. And he's done it 3 times now. It's caused 3 accidents. And he's gotten away with that one there. The 79, the 29, the 73, Dave Horton, as we mentioned. In that first accident, we saw the 54, I think it was, spear down towards the inside wall. Drivers behind this incident also trying to get it slowed down, some not trying to get it slowed down, but both have been involved in that accident. See the 40 of Michael Ruda. Here comes Brendan Argenio, who we're on board with now, straight into the back of Dave Horton, and it's another massive accident caused by a move that just doesn't need to be made.
Yeah, that 37 car has been a missile, pretty much blowing up everything that's in its gun sights, and you can see another ill-fated move from the 37. He is not making any friends in this race, and I don't think he will be able to make any friends after doing that maneuver on multiple occasions. It's now been 3 incidents that he's caused so far in this race out of, I believe, 60 yellows thus far. I've started to lose count. So yeah, that is a 50% ratio of either being involved in a yellow or causing a yellow, and man, it's... Yeah, I'm gonna stay tight-lipped about this, William. You're usually the you're usually the commentator here on this series. I'm just filling in for Robert Hill, so I guess I do have a right to just come in here and say that was an ill-fated and possibly bonehead move from the 37. At the same time, they may not entirely take my opinion seriously because I'm usually not on this series. But as we're gonna take a look at the onboard shot of the 37, I'm just gonna say it. That was boy,
what's he doing? Like. There's no reason. It's what? I mean, we're on the yellow now, so a few laps have passed. It's now lap 37, so we're coming to the green this time. It'll be 23 to go. Yeah, fitting that 37. But it's why? There's no reason. You don't gain anything from doing that. And thankfully, he's been removed from the server. His reign of terror has ended. Maconi's had enough of his nonsense. We're going back green this time with one less missile, as you put it, lightly, kindly. Out of the running, so hopefully some more green flag laps in our future. We'll have to wait and see. 23 to go this time.
You know, I'll be honest, William, I've done a lot of broadcasts over the past year and a half when I started broadcasting iRacing events. I've criticized many drivers. I've never criticized a driver who ended up getting completely kicked out of the race. I guess my criticisms weren't entirely unjustified. So, well, that's all water under the bridge. Hopefully we can run these final 24, 23 laps under green flag conditions. A green flag is back out, and with some more drivers with damage up and down the field, I have a feeling that the contenders for the win in this race are going to be reduced down a teeny tiny bit. I'm still keeping my eyes on the 4 car of of Davis. He's on the outside of Reef, heading through 1 and 2 right now. Maybe gonna try and take the lead, clear him heading into 1 and 2. I don't think he's going to have a good enough run though. The 20 is right behind him. Actually, I believe that is the 34 with the tribute livery to Christopher Bell, the Yahoo car. It's actually the 34 of Clemens. That was the one giving a little bit of assistance to the 4 heading down that back straightaway. You can see the field fanning out, heading through that quad oval section, running on that apron. It's still Davis in the lead, Reef on his inside in P2, Clemens, Gaddy, and Pritchard running at the top 5, but this field is still incredibly close. Davis and Clemens working together to try and extend their gap and cut in front of the drivers on the inside line, which they have now. It's now Davis and Clemens running pretty much uncontested in P1 and P2, only with the NASCAR Next Gens. At Atlanta, could you say that a less than 1/10 of a second gap between the front two and the driver running in third would be uncontested. They had a pretty good lead coming around to begin this 21 lap to go lap, but right now some drivers feeling really racy running on the apron. That's the number, I'm not sure who that is. I believe that may be no, that's not Reef. That's a number, that's Gaddy. Yeah, there's Gaddy running on the apron, trying to do what the 37 did earlier on in this race. Of course, not causing an incident, but still running very aggressive. Davis and Clemens still P1 and P2, Gaddy in third, Facola now running in fourth with a big moment of drama heading through 1 and 2.
Yeah, someone got in the outside wall there, managed to save it. I think that's the 13 actually, if Tyler Reef has really dropped down now. Saw the 12 of Gabriel Gatti go below the red line. I think he was, I wouldn't say forced down there as such, but I think he has done that in reaction to a bit of drama we saw on driver's right. Bit of preempting, potentially a bit of chaos, and thankfully made it out the other side without flying back up the track. But now we might see 3 wide. It's going through the quad oval. That is fair game, I think. Through the quad oval, might get 2 for the price of 1. Gabriel Gatti to the low side, 3 wide for the lead. Jared Davis shuffled out. It's now Gatti and Clemens side by side for P1.
Well done, Gaddy, to very briefly take the lead in this race. It looks like he's going to lose it as Clemens on that outside line, which a much quicker run and a bump draft from the 4 with the 81 right behind as well. The 12 starting to stall out on that inside line with now 19 coming to 18 laps to go here from this Fast Fridays race with the NASCAR Next Gens at Atlanta here on Maconi Entertainment. Clemens leading in that number 34 car with that 20 Christopher Bell tribute scheme. Davis right behind in P2. Some drivers shuffling along with some drivers running on the apron heading onto that back straightaway, but Gotti with a fantastic move heading through the quad oval not terribly long ago put on a clinic to take the lead very briefly, and he's still running in third. He is not out of this race. I mean, he may try and go for it yet again running on that apron. He may try and go for the 2-for-1 deal heading into turn number 1. Not going to be close enough. However, he will be side by side with Davis. This is going to give Clemens the opportunity to try and extend his lead in this race with 17 laps to go.
Yeah, extending your lead, definitely helping Jack Clemens there with Davis and Gatti fighting as they get all types of messed up in the middle of turns 3 and 4. They're 3 wide. I think they started clipping through each other. Somehow they've managed to keep it nice and orderly and kept together, but yeah, blessing and a curse there, extending your lead at the super speedways. Of course you have the gap, but then of course you have the massive run for everyone behind you, and as you see Jack Clemens, he was leading in that Christopher Bell car, now down fighting for P4 there with Gabriel Gatti, with the front 3 of Jared Davis, William Corr in the second, and Tyler Reef all broken up into a top 3 pack there. Jack Clemens down to P4 fighting Gabriel Gatti for that spot, with Facola and Pritchard side by side there for P6 behind them, but now they're starting to converge on each other again with that slipstream. 15 to go this time. We're getting towards the business end of this race.
If this great racing action that you're seeing right now on Maconi Entertainment doesn't convince you to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you never miss a thing, I really don't know what would. With 15 laps to go, it's Davis in that 4 car leading it, Karen in P2 in that number 81 with some side-by-side action all throughout. The drivers running in that top 10 fight. It is a Hornets nest with a top 10 covered by half of a second coming out of turns number 3 and 4. Now with 14 laps to go, we're riding on board with Tyler Reef in that number 13 car. He is going to be giving a bump like hell to Gaddy heading through that quad oval. These are 2 drivers trying to battle for the win in this race. Davis and Gaddy, they're running in P1 and P2. Karen and Davis, they're working together on that inside line, but right now it's Gaddy and Reef, the 12 and 13, trying to finish this race in P1 and P2. Currently running P2 and P3, but these drivers racing really hard. Gaddy is going to be taking the lead with 13 laps to go now in this race. course, these drivers pushing it to the absolute limit. They are racing like hell. I feel like it's a matter of when, not if, though, that we could see another yellow disrupt the end of this race, but they have put on a very good show. This is the longest green flag stint by a country mile, and it has been heart-pumpingly exciting.
Absolutely, as we get towards the business end of this race, 12 to go. At the line, you see the 73 Dave Horton up in the wall. Maconi slithers past there in the number 03 Chevrolet. He's back up towards the lead pack. Drivers are going to start to get way more confident with their bumps, with their pushes. Take that extra risk to get your man up towards the front of the pack. If you're not leading that line, you want to get your line moving as much as you can. And the 36 now has that job of Ficola there in that Ford Mustang, trying to get Tyler Reef back up towards the front. But it's Gabriel Gatti that now holds the... Oh, they're back in now! William Corrin the second gets turned in the middle of 3 and 4, and that's going to cause a big one. Just as you mentioned, Ron, there was time for another twist in the tail via a yellow flag, and we've just had it with a dozen laps to go.
And that was a big one, heading through 3 and 4 both. How hard they're racing, it was a matter of when, not if. They were racing incredibly aggressively towards the end of this race. And now with 11 laps to go, we are going to have a quick yellow. This will not send us into green-white checker territory yet. However, if we have an incident between now and the end of this race, we will most certainly go into that green-white checkered territory. And here is the replay of some bad bumping and some drivers battling like hell towards the end of this race, gone wrong, and you can see it was the 56 giving a bump to the 20, who then goes into the 81, the 20, of course, actually being the 34 car, of course, with the Christopher Bell tribute livery, but the 81 really caught up in the crossfire with that. It was the 56 that really started it, heading through 3 and 4, the DL Designs 56 car. Very happy that DL Designs is one of the sponsors of this broadcast, but I'm sure these drivers not very happy that the DL Designs car is going to bring out the yellow with what will probably be less than 10 laps to go when they get this race restarted in the not too distant future, William. That was the longest green flag stint that we are going to have in this entire race. I don't believe we would be able to crack it between now and the end of this race. But that was an incredibly hectic series of events. The boss man, Jeff Maconi, exiting out the pits. Is he going to remain on the lead lap? Oh, I don't think he will. Heartbreaker for the boss man. So we'll possibly have to get him a condolences card for how things have gone for him in this race. Actually, you can see some smoke coming out of the back of it. Maybe a blown motor, possibly a gear shift gone wrong coming off a pit lane. But William, getting back to the point I was going to mention, this race was, I mean, we were expecting one thing heading into this race. Then the first half was quite jumbled up with a lot of yellows, and the 37 being an absolute heat-seeking missile. And then after that happened, this race really settled into a groove. It was intense for about 15 laps, but now with a yellow under 10 laps left to go, and the possibility of at most 3 green-white checkers, I gotta imagine these final few laps are going to be even more hectic than the laps that we just had.
It definitely will be now that the field is again bunched back up. You might see some pit strategy, some guys trying to take tires. We'll see Gabriel Gatti, Tyler Reef now leading each lane. So those are 2 very, very quick drivers up at the front, but they'll be wanting pushes from the guys behind them in their line to get their cars moving. Jared Davis, pole sitter, definitely one to watch. Going to start third. He's going to be looking to get that number 4 machine towards the front as quickly as he can, and he's going to have to try and use Gabriel Gatti as a vehicle for that, try and push that 12 up towards the front and potentially get himself clear of the outside and make a move of his own. It's like a 185 mile an hour game of chess is super speedway racing, and right now they have to make that big checkmate move. 8 to go on a late race restart. It is now for all the marbles. You have to go all in, go big, or go home.
I think these drivers are in an absolute pressure cooker scenario. The heat is starting to ramp up. The pressure is as well. These drivers are going to be dealing with a lot towards the end of this race. We may have to think about a lot of stuff when it comes to strategy we haven't really talked about. We mentioned earlier on in this race the sketchy pit entry, but some drivers, of course, with some damage, they've had to come down pit lane. It's actually led to one of the drivers having about 20 lap newer tires than the rest of the drivers in the top 5. You can see Gabe in that 52 car. He is going to be a man on a mission. We'll just have to see how things are going to shake out in this race. It is going to be a barn burner of a finish here on Maconi Entertainment on this Friday evening. The Fast Fridays always put on a good show, and this race is no different. The green flag is back at with under 8 laps to go now. These drivers are going to be battling tooth and nail for every single position that they possibly can find. Gaddy is leading in Reef in P2, Davis in 3rd, McCool in 4th, Ficola in P5, Clemens in 6th. These drivers feeling really, really racy right now, and they really have to. Of course, with this format, they're feeling aggressive, and they're too aggressive with a big crash heading into 3 with 8 laps to go. And I won't say that it's going to put us into green-white checkered territory just yet, but as you can see, that 13 car, that is going to be a game ender for Reef. Was a driver that got spun into that outside wall at the end of that start finish. Actually, no, the back straightaway, my apologies. They were acting like they were coming to the start finish line, but still, these drivers running really, really aggressive, and sadly, it ends in tears.
Yeah, Jared Davis, though, still on the outside, you do have the benefit of the side draft, but if you're the inside car, you can try and get right up on the door of your rival upstairs, try and slow down his progress. That's what Jared Davis was trying to do. Evidently a bit of a misjudgment from the 4. He seemed just left rear the 13 just a little bit, get him loose. Not much time for Ficola behind the 2. At the 33, or the 36 rather, beg your pardon, was right on the bump of the 13, as you'll see on this replay. The 4 comes up trying to side draft him, and absolutely nowhere to go for Ficola. As you see, completely innocent bystander collected in that crash that took out the 36, the 13, and a couple of others. But that is going to set up potentially a natural GWC or a restart with no more than 4 laps to go. So it's going to get very hectic from here on out.
Oh, it certainly will. We're already at 6 laps left to go. Actually, it's going to be a little bit over than your prediction, William. I think we're going to grab the green with 5 laps to go. Still not a whole lot of time at all, and I'm sure, considering the drama that we were seeing with that restart with 8 laps to go, now with 5 laps to go on this restart, it is going to be even more intense. These drivers maybe being even more aggressive with the bumps, even more aggressive with the pushes, even more aggressive with the maneuvers. Are we going to see somebody end up on the apron? Are we going to see somebody end up flipping? We were kind of thinking that could happen with the amount of drivers that got airborne earlier on in this race, and considering the pressure cooker scenario all of these drivers find themselves in, I would not rule it out at all. So we're going to see the field. Oh my God, that's
what's going on there?
Uh-oh, yeah, a wreck coming off pit lane. That's going to extend this yellow another lap, maybe even 2. What in the world happened there? Yeah, you can see that's Connor Drysdale, the number 29 car, stopped and got a piece of that incident. What in the world happened there, William?
Must have heard my prediction about just exactly how many laps we'd have to go for the restart. As Connor Drysdale, I think, has done a Michael Wall trip at Daytona, if you remember that particular crash. He's just dropped it on the apron. Brendan Jr. tries to avoid him and just gets tagged there. The 31 is the outside wall. That is a bizarre accident, but, I mean, it's a Michael Wall trip accident, isn't it? Even the professionals make those kinds of mistakes from time to time, but we're still going green, and we thought that extended the yellow. Now we're going to have a yellow. That's a massive one. Oh, no. Shabelski's in it. Big impact. That's not Shabelski, that's the 27, pardon. Very similar looking car. That's Michael Dow, but that'll be a green white checkered for sure.
Oh, yes, it will, and that was a hellacious collision for the drivers involved. We're going to have to take a look at a lot of replays of the drama. I mean, we were expecting the restart to be chaotic. We were expecting these drivers to be even more aggressive. We weren't expecting to see an incident like that, and here is the replay of the drivers heading through turns number 1 and 2 right now. You can see some bumping going wrong with the 81 spinning the 27 in front of the 6, and the field is just going to collect themselves into the wall. The boss man, Jeff Marconi, is escaping that incident virtually by the skin of his teeth, and look at the 5 slam into the outside wall. That was a horrible impact for the 5. In past history here at Atlanta, there's been some drivers that one didn't survive an impact like that. So that was a horrible impact for the driver that slammed it. It really took down that outside safer barrier. This has certainly set us into green-white checker territory, William, and we weren't entirely ruling it out. We were expecting this restart to be full of drama, full of surprises, and maybe full of an incident, and we definitely got it there.
Yeah, definitely is a spark there. William Corr on the seconds gets in the back there, the 27. And that sets off a massive collision behind them. The 27 didn't really hold the brakes there. The 53, the 5, the 6 we saw as well get into that. I think that's the 36 as well, potentially. A blue and white car. There's another, as mentioned, large number of cars involved in the accident. Brian Shavelski there, I did mention, thought was in it. Managed to just squeak by there in the 85, but still familiar faces up at the front. Jared Davis and Gabriel Gatti have occupied the front row for a long time tonight. They still remain there. Jack Clemens, Gavin McCall. McCall we haven't mentioned much, but he's been up there. He's kept his nose very much clean. Hewling Cowles has been involved in a couple of incidents, but such has been the nature of this race. He's found himself back up in the top 5. So definitely jumbled in some respects, but the front row has remained the same.
And here's a very important question towards the end of this race with a restart coming in the near future, William. Are we in green-white checker territory? I believe we are. I just want to make sure that we are. Can you confirm or deny that?
So it's at 58 at the minute, so this we'll have 2 laps to go, but this will not count for a green-white checkered attempt. This is what's known as a natural GWC, where we have a restart that just manages to lead into a natural 2-lap-to-go restart. So if there's a yellow on this lap, when we have the restart, there will still be 3 attempts to use, the first of which will be used if we have a yellow on this lap. So I have to wait and see. For now, Gatti and Davis lead us to the restart zone.
Yep, a friendly reminder that the white flag or the yellow flag is going to end this race. Once that white flag is up in the air, the next flag will end the race. We may see the white flag, but we're going to see a yellow with a spin and some bad bumping on the restart, and that is going to send us into that green-white checkered territory. Drivers being aggressive on these restarts. Spins at the boss man himself, Maconi. In that 03 car, he does a half donut to get it spun back around. I think there's some damage on that race car as well, and he is going to tow back to pit lane. A heartbreaker for the driver that was putting on a very good show, but sadly, things have come unraveled towards the end of this race. And William, it was some bumping gone wrong coming to grab the green, and here's what happened.
Yeah, this looks like a bit of a stack up, and that's the 13 of Tyler Reef getting into the 56 there. The DL Designs machine of Aston Pritchard, and that has caused not a massive accident as such. I think those are the only 2 cars actually involved, but it's enough to set off a yellow flag. Argenio the 08. Oh, Chris Winiger gets into the left rear. That's why Maconi's out of the race. You see the left rear jutting out of the 03 Chevrolet. That has ended Maconi's night there. That is so unfortunate for the 03. The next gens are known for their durability with body damage, but when it comes to getting hit in the suspension, it's pretty much an instant game ender. So it's an unfortunate stack up that's going to result in our first GWC.
And I think as we're taking a look at some more replays of this incident that has put us into this first green-white checkered scenario, 1 of 3. If we don't get it done this time by, we'll go into the second attempt, and if we don't get it done that time by, then we'll go into attempt number 3, whereby the race would end no matter what. Even if we have a restart incident like that on that 3rd attempt, if we make it that far, that would end this race. So while we're still under this yellow waiting for the field to re-rack themselves, we should probably take a look at the past and future here for this Fast Friday series. Of course, 1 week ago was the last round of the championship with the Mazda MX-5s running at Martinsville Speedway. Then, of course, tonight here on Maconi Entertainment, the next gen's running at Atlanta Motor Speedway. In 1 week's time, we're going to have a very different race as the NASCAR trucks go mudslinging at Knoxville on August the 30th here on Maconi Entertainment. And then that leads into the September monthly money race, that being late models at the Concrete Canyon of Dover International Raceway, or whatever in the world they call it nowadays. I live an hour and a half away from the track, and I still don't even know what they refer to it nowadays. They just changed the name on you, just out of the blue. But regardless of what you call it, is at Dover, and that's going to be here exclusively on Maconi Entertainment on September the 6th. Got a whole lot of action here on Maconi, day in and day out, week in and week out. Gives you more of a reason to subscribe and hit that notification bell as well, so you never miss a single thing. and we're waiting for this green flag to come out. What could be... It's going to be the first green-white checkered attempt for sure. Is it the last green-white checkered attempt? That remains to be determined. It's going to be Gaddy in that 12 car leading them to green. Gonna have Davis on that outside in the 4 car. Davis has been the driver I've been keeping my eyes on all night, and we'll see if he can get the job done as the field goes through the restart zone. They're gonna be back under green, looking through the field to see if they have another stack up, grabbing that green flag. They do not, and they're gonna be heading off into turn number 1 right now. Gaddy going to be side by side with Davis, the 13 and the 4 side by side, whole field pretty much side by side, up and down the running order. These drivers are feeling really racy. They see an opportunity to win this race. They see an opportunity to be in the top 20 in the points to qualify their way into that monthly money race. They're going to be quite aggressive, coming to the white flag in just a few moments time.
Yeah, the 12 and the 4 now side by side. It's going to be the white flag. This time they will get there. This flag will end the race. And we're 3 wide now. McCool to the high side in the number 7. The 52 of you trying to follow suit. The 7 gets clear of the 4. Now they're wrecking. The 52 goes around the 4. Still, it's a 4-horse race up at the front. They try to keep it together. No breaks now. It's the white flag as they're coming towards the line now into 3.
Oh, it's not going to bring the yellow ad, and we've got a 4-horse race at the north end of the field. It's a 13 car, the 12 car, sorry, leading them, heading through 3 and 4 for the final time, and it looks like they're going to be able to get the job done. The 12 of Gotti takes it here from the Fast Fridays race, gained 3 spots from the start to the checkered flag, and Gabriel Gotti from New York wins it in that 12 car. He had to withhold a whole lot of challenge and was probably hoping for that yellow flag not to come out. That was a big accident heading through turns number 1 and 2 right at the end of this race, and Gabriel Gaddy is going to get that job done. Maybe treating us to some donuts on this back straightaway. Yes, he will, burning that car to the ground, and rightfully so. The driver takes the checkered flag here at Atlanta in this next-gen race for Fast Fridays, burning that thing all the way to the ground and breaking in those tires, running them all the way down to the canvas. It was a hard-fought day of racing action from start to finish here from Atlanta. We only needed 1 green-white checkered flag. We had a whole lot of yellows, a whole lot of drama, and a great finish to boot as well. We're going to take a quick little commercial break here on Maconi Entertainment, and after that we're going to have the results, some interviews, and the last thoughts on this race, along with looking forward to the rest of this Fast Friday series. We'll be right back here on Maconi Entertainment after these messages.
When you want to be the best, you can't settle for the rest. For anything on iRacing, there's just one name you need: Maconi.
With the launch of Maconi Entertainment and Maconi Competizone alongside Maconi Setup Shop, we now provide the best of the best in setups, paint schemes, coaching, broadcasting, and event organization.
With cars across all 4 license classes, we have what you need to hit the track with confidence. Grab a subscription and save money while going fast at MaconiSetupShop.com/subscriptions.
And remember, at Maconi Setup Shop, there are setups, but your victories.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head to head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series in officially licensed cars engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Alrighty, everybody, welcome back here to Maconi Entertainment, and I think we're going to take a look at the results from this Fast Fridays race with the NASCAR Next Gen cars at Atlanta. Gabriel Gaddy from New York ends up taking the checkered flag in that Toyota, only 1/10 of a second in front of Jack Clemens in P2. It's going to be Julian Kauser rounding at your podium in third. Gavin McCool, he nearly took the win in this race. That would have been a bold move if he got it done, sweeping around the outside, heading into 1 and 2 at the end of this race. He's still gonna have to settle for P4, which ain't not that bad when everything was said and done. Jared Davis going to end up this race in 5th. Ethan Yoy going to end up in P6. Jeffrey Eddy going to round out your top 7. Dave Horton in 8th. Stephen Brown in 9th, and Brian Sablensky rounding out your top 10.
Having a look at the rest of the results, TJ Handley in the 08 being the last driver to finish on the lead lap in P11. Aston Pritchard involved in that restart accident before the green-white checkered. Finishes 12th, 1 lap down. Brendan Argenio 13th, 2 laps down. David Wellborn Jr. and Connor Drysdale round out the top 15 with everyone failing to see the checkered flag. Tyler Reif in 16th, Jeffrey Maconi the boss man in 17th, William Corrin the 2nd in 18th, Chris Winiger and Michael Dow rounding out the top 20. Jay Dwayne in the 521st, Anthony Ficola in the 36th, 22nd, Brandon Combs 23rd, Aaron Schiff at 24th, Jerry Jackson rounds out the top 25, Jonathan Packett, Landon Bednars, Dylan Martin, Terry Henry and Michael Ruder also all found to the checkered flag in the top 30. Martin Tolmick, Joshua Coolbrith, Tim Obert, Billy Rickett, Jacob Wallace, Greg Stone and Evan Drake for the 37 cars that took the grid, with everyone 38th on back, not electing to take the start.
And so those are your results from tonight's racing action on Maconi Entertainment. And we have some drivers waiting to have a quick little chat, so I think I'll bring in Holden Kauser, our P3 finisher from tonight's race, to have a quick little chat after this. Now, Mr. Kauser, thank you for joining us in the commentary booth. It must have been a quite hectic evening from your perspective behind the wheel. Talk us through the drama that we just saw here at Atlanta.
Well, I'd say we had a lot of drama, like just a lot of wrecks, a lot of accidents, a lot of people who got to learn different things and adapt to different things on this track. A lot of adrenaline for sure.
I can imagine the adrenaline was running through your veins from start to finish. And I can imagine dealing with this race was quite tricky just from the mental side of things, with the amount of restarts that you had to deal with. Was it really tough just settling into a groove with this race?
Yes, very tough indeed. There was a lot of movement. You really couldn't stick somewhere for too long or else you'd be involved in something. A lot of movement on this racetrack tonight.
Yeah, it certainly seemed like it from our perspective in the commentary booth, and I'm sure you drivers are probably hoping for a slightly less chaotic evening in 1 week's time when the Fast Friday series returns on Maconi Entertainment. That being with the NASCAR trucks at the Knoxville Raceway, mudslinging in the trucks. How do you think that race is going to be in 1 week's time?
Well, I'm not really great with dirt, but however, I reckon if I put my heart in practice the track, I bet you I can perform moderately well.
Alrighty, there you go, Mr. Caster. Thank you for joining us in the commentary booth and giving your insight as to how things are going to be like at the Knoxville race in 1 week's time. Before we let you go and celebrate this P3 result, is there anyone you want to give a thanks to or shout out?
Yes, I would like to thank my team, Lumet Motorsports, for coming out tonight and watching the broadcast. Thank you to Ashton for showing up for this Fast Fridays event and working with me, or at least trying to till the end there. Big shout out to my family, and big shout out to DL Designs for painting that beautiful 91 DL Designs Lawson Product Chevrolet.
Alrighty, there you go, Holden Kauser. Congratulations on that P3 result here at Atlanta, and excited to see you back out on the racetrack at Knoxville in 1 week's time. Thanks for joining us, man.
No problem.
And that was Holden Kauser, who ends up this race in P3 after everything was said and done. And now, William, would you like to have a chat with our P2 finisher from tonight's race?
Absolutely. We're going to bring in Jack Clemens, driver of the number 34. So you had the Christopher Bell scheme on. Not bad. Silver medal in a super speedway race that definitely looked to be particularly challenging, both on the driving side as well as on the mental side, with 10 yellows. How do you evaluate your night overall, Jack?
It went well. That fast repair kind of saved me at the end. I almost flipped on, was that lap 1 or 2? But I was able to recover, kind of drive back up to the front. And I feel like once I got up front, I was able to hold it pretty well. Obviously, there was some guessing, who's going to cut below the red, how low they were going to go. But overall, I'm usually not good at these plate tracks, but it was a lot of fun tonight.
Yeah, it definitely looked like a lot of fun. You mentioned you had that accident for that first caution. How difficult was it to recover after that? Obviously, it shuffles you towards the back of the grid, but you did have that fast repair at your disposal. Obviously, definitely a big lifesaver in that regard. But what did you have to do to try and get back up towards the front so you could be there to potentially have a shot of victory at the end of it?
Yeah, absolutely. It just a lot of trying to avoid all the wrecks that were to come. Like you said, we had 10 cautions, so there was definitely opportunity to make up ground if I could just avoid those wrecks. So I tried to hang back a little bit while still trying to make up as much ground as I could, but capitalize on other mistakes that were made on the track. So just slowly and surely make my way up, and then I was able to be towards the front at the end and give myself a chance.
Definitely. Well, we've asked this question to Hewling as well. In 1 week's time, if you're there, we've got the trucks at Knoxville, so we're going to be doing some mudslinging. How do you rate your dirt prowess, and do you think you might be there next week, potentially challenging for the race win again?
I don't know about next week. If there was a grade below F for dirt, I might be whatever that grade is. But I might try to practice a little bit. Dirt's fun. I'm just not the best at it, but I'm looking forward to it.
Absolutely. Well, before we let you go, any partners you want to thank or shout-outs you want to give for getting that number 34 onto the podium for Fast Fridays?
Yeah, I want to shout out the guys at Kamado Joe Grills and at Virginia Tech helping me. College series starts up in a couple weeks. We're looking forward to that, and they've been big supporters of mine.
Awesome. Well, congratulations again on that, P2. Thank you very much for your time, dude.
Thank you.
And that right there was Jack Clemens coming back from the brink of absolute disaster towards the beginning of this race to come home in P2. I've got one more driver waiting in the interview waiting area. I believe we will be able to have a chat with Gabriel Gotti after a hard-fought day of racing action. Gabriel, thank you for joining us in the commentary booth. If you're with us, how was it out there?
Well, it was a great race. I mean, starting in fourth, which is a good position. I mean, I really wanted to get pole, but I mean, fourth is really cool. I mean, it was a really close qualifying. Got my way up into the front. I was running second, and then mid-race got turned, went to the back of the field, but worked my way back up, and then found myself in first with. And then remember, cautions bring caution. So at the end, there was a lot of cautions back to back, but then, held on for the win. And then it was great. It feels great, to get my first win on Fast Fridays. After the third place finish on the money race, it gave me a lot of confidence and then really boosted me to get that result today.
And you mentioned the last money race here on this Fast Friday series. That was the Xfinity cars at Daytona back on the 9th of this month. Do you think that experience with the Super Speedway race there kind of helped you for tonight's racing?
In a way, because Atlanta, with the recent repave, it's a super speedway track now. And I mean, it was a lot of fun. I mean, Daytona did help me a lot, to get that win, especially at a super speedway track. And with that good result at a super speedway track, coming into Atlanta too, it just gave me that confidence and hopefully fought for the win. And I was up front most of the race and turned out it worked. So really happy about that.
Well, it certainly worked out well for you as you're going to leave this race with the checkered flag. And now in 1 week's time, we're going to be heading to pretty much the complete polar opposite to the race that we just had here. The NASCAR trucks at Knoxville Speedway going to be mudslinging in 1 week's time. How do you think that race is going to be?
Well, who knows? I mean, Knoxville, I'm really unfamiliar with that track, so I really don't know. But let's just see how it plays out. I'm going to run some laps at that track, see how it works out, and hopefully be up at the front, but if not, I'll take a decent top 10 finish. But yeah, now I feel like I just learned now that super speedways are probably my strong track as well.
Well, I mean, hey, super speedways, gotta love it. And I think the final monthly money race from this season of Fast Fridays is actually going to be the NASCAR trucks at Talladega. So, hey, I think if you're confident in your ability to run these super speedway races, and if you're confident in the NASCAR trucks, you're going to be setting yourself up very well for a good payday coming up this October. And now, Gabriel, thank you for joining us in the commentary booth. Congratulations on the victory. Is there anyone you want to give a thanks to or shout out?
Shout out to all the Maconi Entertainment guys for running this race. It was a lot of fun. Big shout out to Fanatec for my steering wheel, and yeah, hopefully next money race at Talladega, hopefully I can get the win. And yeah, really excited for this next race coming up at Knoxville. Hopefully I can get the win there too.
Alrighty, well, Gabriel, glad to see that you're quite enthusiastic throughout the rest of this season. Congratulations on the victory tonight, and excited to see you back out on the racetrack at Knoxville in 1 week's time. Thanks for joining us, man.
All right, thank you. Have a good night.
And that was Gabriel Gotti, who leaves this race with the checkered flag. And now, William, is a hard-fought day of racing action up and down the field with a lot of yellows, a lot of disruptions to this race. But Gotti ends up sneaking away with the victory. Sadly for him, the trucks at Talladega isn't going to be the next monthly money race. That's actually going to be some late models at Dover on the 6th of September. But Gabriel Gotti seeming very confident in his chances. Would you say that this man is on I wouldn't say a comeback, but he is definitely feeling himself at this point in the season?
He definitely is, and I think has every right to be. We've seen him, I know for as long as I've been doing Fast Fridays, which is for a good few months now, he's always been there, and he's always been up at the front, no matter whether we're on road courses, whether we're in sports cars, whether we're on super speedways or short tracks, and whatever we drive, he's always, you know, in the front, in the mix, trying to get that first win. He's finally broken that duck tonight. Well deserved, of course, and definitely on a bit of a hot streak. Secured a podium not too long ago with the Xfinity cars at Daytona, beaten only by Zach Novak, a past NASCAR champion. So that is no mean feat by any stretch of the imagination. Has every right to be confident going into next week. We've got trucks at Knoxville, a whole different animal, a whole different kettle of fish, a whole different challenge. So we'll see how we can rise to that. But of course, the late models at Dover, we know it's very different from the super speedway racing, but we also know just from Gabriel's past that he will definitely be in the mix, as will a lot of different drivers for that race. So definitely the next couple of weeks of Fast Fridays are going to be absolute must-sees for sure.
Oh, it is going to be incredibly entertaining, and of course you can catch the action exclusively here on Maconi Entertainment. And just going through the rest of the season schedule, of course, in 1 week's time, the trucks are going to be running at Knoxville, and then 1 week after that, we have the September monthly money race late models at Dover. And then for the final triplets of qualifying races, we've got the Gen 4 cars at Michigan, GT3s at Watkins Glen, and the Legend cars at South Boston, leading into the final monthly money race with the NASCAR trucks at Talladega. Of course, all these drivers competing for the choice of a 3.3 or 1 meter tall trophy or $250 worth of cash for all of the monthly money races that we have throughout this Fast Friday season. And now it has been a hard-fought day of racing action. And of course, to make this all possible and make this broadcast happen here on Maconi Entertainment, you have to have some pretty good sponsors to make it all possible. And of course, here at Maconi Entertainment, tonight's broadcast would not have been possible without Maconi Setup Shop. Maconi is a one-stop shop for iRacers, the place to find setups, paint schemes, driver coaching, and event promotion with subscriptions starting as low as $8 a month. Go to www.maconisetupshop.com to find for yourself why Maconi Setup Shop is loved by so many. And while you're there, if you want to join this series, you can head on off to www.maconisetupshop.com/Fast Fridays to sign up for this series. Entry is completely free. Maconi Setup Shop, the official setup shop of eNASCAR. And of course, we would be remiss to not mention Maconi Entertainment. Visit www.maconientertainment.com to watch these live broadcasts, learn about the series we broadcast, or fill out our broadcast interest form to see your league or special events live on the air here on Maconi Entertainment with all the wonderful graphics and the fantastic quality that we have here. And finally, we would also be remiss if we didn't thank DL Designs for their generous support of this series. Want to look amazing on the track? DL Designs is your place to go. Top tier paint schemes for everything: Cup, Xfinity trucks, Orca, dirt and asphalt late models, sprint cars, street stocks, and many, many more. You get spec maps, custom numbers, and the best design you can imagine, all for just $20. Some of the cheapest in the game for some of the best quality as well. DL Designs on Twitter/X. Drive into victory lane looking the best you can. We want to thank the wonderful sponsors that we have for tonight's race: Maconi Setup Shop, Maconi Competizione, and DL Design. We would also like to thank all of you for tuning into this broadcast wherever you may be. Thank you all for tuning in to watch tonight's action, and we hope you can stay tuned for Maconi Entertainment for all the action, including the weekly top split action from the Maconi Setup Shop C-Fix Truck Series. Calling the action tonight was myself, Ron Mullins. Alongside me in the commentary booth, booth has been William White, with Christian Hill doing a wonderful job producing tonight's broadcast. This has been a production of Maconi Entertainment, and we hope to see you all wherever it is in the not-too-distant future. Take care, everybody.
When you want to be the best, you can't settle for the rest. For anything on iRacing, there's just one name you need, Maconi.
With the launch of Maconi Entertainment and Maconi Competizone alongside Maconi Setup Shop, we now provide the best of the best in setups, paint schemes, coaching, broadcasting, and event organization.
With cars across all 4 license classes, we have what you need to hit the track with confidence. Grab a subscription and save money while going fast at MaconiSetupShop.com/subscriptions.
And remember, at Maconi Setup Shop, there are setups, but your victories.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.